Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another great edition of Show Today. And he's an actor, and he is part of season 4 of Sweet Magnolias. And it's a really good show. If you've never had a chance to check it out, I highly recommend it. Sweet Magnolias, it's called, and he's part of season 4 and hoping to get a season 5. And it also stars Logan Allen. All right, buddy. Welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for coming on and being a guest. I appreciate it.
Oh man, this is fantastic, man. I really appreciate you reaching out, and I gotta say, this is out of some small things here and there through my career, this is kind of like a first like big kind of little thing here for me. So this
Oh,
is nice,
really?
man. Yeah, yeah. It's always fun. I know that you've kind of like the small circles too. I think you've done
Hmm.
Ryan Holcomb, which is a friend of
Yes.
mine, and
Yeah.
he's been on Sweet Magnolias, and then of
Yep.
course our good buddy Mr. Logan.
Logan. Logan's the best. Logan's been on my show like four times already or something like
Oh
that.
wow.
Like, yeah, he's great. Great person. Great personality. A big sports fan.
Yes, yes. I think he did a live on Instagram, and that's all he was talking about was just the March Madness and getting all ready for that. So, yeah, he's a great guy. So, but
He
it's
is.
good. It's good. I'm now a part of it. So, yeah, man.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
definitely. I guess the first question I usually start out asking is basically like, what drew you to want to act? Like, when did your passion for
Oh,
acting come about?
oh man. Always a great question because it's always nice to kind of hear everybody's, you know, stories really honestly
Hmm.
about how they did it. Mine was actually a little crazy. Honestly, I always was really drawn to movies, of course, like when I was young. And my father, growing up in the 80s, he was very much kind of like my father has kind of like a niche where he just loves all the action films, so the classic action films. So he kind of introduced me at a good age where I was able to kind of watch a lot of these younger epics. So I would watch Braveheart with Mel Gibson, and we would watch The Terminator and Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and so he kind of
Nice.
really got me
Nice.
into a lot of these really big classic epic films, and when I was still kind of to the point where I'm like, I don't, is this real? Is it fake? How is it? And you kind of really get kind of sucked into like the lore and the story, and he was like, no, 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 they're all actors, and so I just thought it was kind of fascinating, just to be able to like that movie magic, so to speak, and you have these larger than life characters, going on these incredible adventures. So I think I was always there at a young age, and I always did. I always it's funny because like I'm not so like much the center of attention anymore. I'm like, please no, don't. But at the time, I always I wanted to do something where I was kind of seen. So I would go. I was a huge fan of all Batman and Spider Man, and I would
Oh yeah.
and I
Oh
would I
yeah.
would I would dress up, as these characters just to dress up, not even for Halloween, nothing special. Like I wanted to be these characters, and I just would go around with my two sisters and just kind of create scenes and jump off like
Really?
couches and yeah, and at the point where my mom's like, "You're like, what are you doing? Like jumping down the stairs?" And it was like always something, and I would like wear motorcycle helmets, and I was like literally 8 years old. So I think there was always something there, and then I think when I got really into to middle school, going into high school, I really honestly developed something where I'm like, I don't really know what wanting to do with my life, and
Hmm.
still
Hmm.
at a young age, it's just still it's it's not really on everybody's mind, really. You know, when you're going through
Well,
high
yeah,
school,
of
you're
course.
just trying to go through the motion and get through it.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And so, but it wasn't until I got into freshman year of high school where I had a lot of like extracurricular, courses that I had to take. I think there was with the
Mhm.
high school that I went to, you have to at least take one or two, during the year. And so my older sister actually, she had a lot of friends in theater, and she was like, literally, I kind of said this out loud. I don't know what else to take. I'm doing like maybe art or something like this, or like
Okay.
maybe a cooking. And she was like, well, she's like, why don't you try theater? She's like, I've got a lot of friends. I know it's going to be scary going through your freshman year of high school. They could kind of, take you under their wing. They could be really great
Really?
for you. And that was kind of my way in. And literally, I just kind of shrugged it off. I just was like, okay, sure. You know, and little did I know where I have to kind of come back and tell her. I just said, hey, I think you were the one to really kind of help me push forward in this venture in this career. And
Wow.
so without her saying, hey, why don't you give it a shot? I don't
Oh my
know.
God, that's
Uh,
crazy.
it really is, to be honest. My dad always did things too. He was more in business and investments, but he always loved to do like narration because he had a voice for it. And so he would always really kind of have that niche too, where he's just like, man, I would love to do this, in the industry as well, but never really got around to it. So I think he's still living a little bit through me, which is great. But I owe it all to my older sister, and I kind of just did a few plays, and I had a
Yeah.
lot of her friends, watch out for me, which was great, and
Oh,
it definitely made high school a little bit more bearable. So, and I really after doing that, it was still tough. It was still to the point where I felt like maybe this is not for me.
mm,
We always have that in the back of our head, even in high
oh,
school,
yeah.
and I just kept with it. Like I just felt like, man, I don't know if there's anything else for me. And so I just kind of just kept at it, and ultimately went to college and studied it as well. And
Okay.
now after that, here I am. So still trying to figure it out, man. Still trying to
Well,
figure it out. But
it's a good thing that you're sticking with it because I mean everyone knows like when you're trying to break in that world that there's a lot of slow times and there's a lot of no's and and you have to pick up little odd and end jobs and to work around if you get like a film all audition it's a whole process and as long as you stick with it like I mean you're sticking with it and you got season four Sweet Magnolias and you're you're doing your thing.
thank you very much. You were right about that. You gotta. It definitely humbles you for a while. I think when you do realize like just the other side of like the film. So you
Hmm.
see like the celebrities and all of that. You're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's you're able to go and fly all over the world,
Yeah.
and but at the same time, it's just like you gotta love this because you never you don't know. You have hope that hopefully you'll be up there too, but you
Hmm.
gotta you gotta love the work to love the work because I always say if my acting resume was like my work resume where I just worked at so many odd jobs over the course of my life, I would be set for life, man. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
because it feels like that's the majority of it is, just working day jobs and working odd jobs and doing what you can just to keep in the game, put food on the table.
Exactly.
So, that's
Exactly.
it. So you definitely have to love the craft, to love the craft. So, and that's really what, over the years too, I'm like, okay, I haven't quit. I gotta love something about this. So as much as I felt like quitting over the years where I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
what am I doing? You just going for it. So, but yeah. But Sweet Magnolias was a long time coming. It was
Definitely, definitely.
definitely. But it was, man, was that fantastic? So
Before we get into the show, like I saw like you actually were standing for Tom Holland, and what was that experience like? Like you actually like talked to him and hung out with him and stuff.
I did. So so it's kind of funny, where you just never know where the industry is going to take you, and I think it's funny because even you have a lot of A-list actors now that kind of just rose through the ranks in
Mhm.
the industry, and they found out, oh yeah, they photo doubled, or they did background. And for me, when I first got up here, I just wanted to kind of immerse myself as much as I could,
Yeah.
and so that was a big thing. I started background when I lived in Florida, and then I got into it. I just wanted to be by the fire, learn as much as I could, and over time, you just never know how far you could kind of progress. And so I did background for Vampire Diaries and the originals, and I mean everything that you could think of,
Nice.
down here, and even drove, from Orlando all the way to Miami just to be part of a show called Burn Notice that was really big,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So did background for that, and so it's just like, oh, you just never know. But Marvel, yeah. So Marvel, I was very very blessed, very thankful, and that was
Hmm.
honestly, man, that was a God thing. I actually did background for Civil War, and this was when Marvel was really coming to Atlanta. They kind of partner
Okay.
with Pinewood Studios. Pinewood Studios is out of London, and so that's where their headquarters. They film all the James Bond films and all the Harry Potter, and so a lot of big movies come out of Pinewood. And they did a deal with Truett Cathy from Chick-fil-A down here in Atlanta, and so they wanted to kind of expand, overseas. And so Marvel, like, basically had all of those studios, and so the Ant-Man was the first one that they shot here,
All right.
and a friend of mine was on that, and he's been a part of Marvel for a long time. And so, but yeah, so I did Civil War, and I got to know the casting director who did a lot of the background stuff and a lot of the things
Nice.
behind the scenes. And thank goodness she actually. It's amazing too, because the industry is pretty small. A lot of people think it's so big, but everybody almost like knows everybody. So I found out that she actually was in a very long-term relationship a while ago with a friend of my dad's, which was
Oh,
crazy. So he actually is in the movie industry as well, but he does all the cars. So he
gosh.
actually does all the cars for all the stunts for like Fast and Furious and all the big stuff that just makes the cars blow up. And whatever they need the cars to do, he basically rigs them and makes them do it. So she dated him out in LA, and she was like, wait a minute. She's like, I know you. And so that was like one of the things where you just never know. So she knew him because she dated him, and then she was like, "Well, she's like, why don't you kind of keep on coming in and doing some work for me?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And at the time, she brought me on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume Two, and I helped out
Oh yeah,
with,
yeah.
which was awesome. And the sets were incredible. James Gunn is fantastic, and I helped. I wanted just to do anything I could. I just wanted to be a part of the movies. And so she's like, "Well, we need some extra help with Marvel security in a way." And so, and that meant James Gunn is very very secretive, with a lot of his stuff, with all the aliens. And so I would come in at 3 o'clock in the morning on set, and I would basically grab everybody's cell phone and hold it and make sure that nothing was being leaked, nothing was being posted on Instagram. And
My God.
so I was like, okay, I'm just a jack of all trades, background, Marvel security, everything. And it was such a blast. And so long story short, she comes in and she's like, well, at the end of Guardians volume two, she was like, I'm doing Spider-Man. And she's like, I
Nice.
really need some help and I need an assistant. And I told her, I just said, as much as I would love to be your assistant, I just said, I really miss being on set. That was the big thing that was really kind of that I missed in Guardians, is because I wasn't really on set. I was with
Well, yeah, yeah.
holding and everything else. And she was like, okay. She's like, well, I understand. And then fast forward probably a couple weeks, she's like, I think you would be a good fit for Tom. And why don't you come
Oh my
in?
God.
And she's like, why don't you come in, do a screen testing? And I was like, what? So I was like, oh, that'd be amazing. I was just absolutely just even the opportunity. And so we got there where it was myself and five other guys. We did screen testing. Tom was there. Tom just had done Civil War, and I just remember being, of course, seeing that in the theaters. Be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
man, that'd be amazing to be a part of. That'd be so. I loved Civil War was fantastic. I'm like, I would love to be a part of that movie. Fast forward, here I am on set, and Tom is like right there, and so it was myself, and then we did the whole screen testing where everybody was trying on wardrobe and making sure
Yeah.
everything was good, and all the stunt. I mean, everybody there, and it was like a little daunting that you just had all these Marvel execs and everybody just right then and there, just like looking at you, and you're just kind of like in a line with these other guys, and Tom comes in, you're like, hey Tom, yeah. He goes, right next to you, and then I didn't hear back, probably because it filmed like on the cusp of like early summer, so like right around June. And we did the screen test probably like maybe almost 2 months before. I didn't hear back at all. No
Hmm.
idea. And I kept on kind of just touching base. And then she finally gave me a text, and she's like, are you willing to dye your hair? And I was like, absolutely, yes, I will. And she gave me a call, and she's like, hey, congratulations, they want you in for Tom Holland. And I
Wow.
flipped. I flipped. So
Wow.
he's a little bit lighter. His mom is a redhead, and I'm darker. So I went in, dyed my hair a little bit lighter so it would match
Yeah.
his hair tone. Um, and what an incredible ride and opportunity that was. It was
Oh
absolutely
my
phenomenal.
God.
And I got to know Tom. I honestly, Tom, at that age, I think he was like right around 21, 22, I think.
Okay.
And just the work ethic that he put into the movie, and just overall, because I was nowhere near his maturity when I was at that. I was off in college, going crazy. And here he is, just being just so level-headed, and just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so mature, and taking on, this mantle of this such an iconic character, and he just killed it. And such a great guy. So Tom and I, we definitely have some stories, and at the end of it, he called me back, and he just said, "Hey, I would love for you to follow me on Avengers, because that's when they were doing
Really?
Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame." And there was multiple scripts where like Sony still had the license and Marvel was still
Yeah,
using
yeah.
them. And so the whole time, we were working together. He was in it, not in it for a lot, in it for a little, and we're just like going back and forth. And I'm here with Tom, like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I don't know." He's like, "I don't know, mate. I don't." And so he was in it, and he brought me along, and that was about 4 years of my life right there. We were known for the production that was never ending. So we shot that back to back. So we have all these movies like pop up and then finish, and we were still going. So it
Oh my
was
God.
pretty amazing, pretty amazing. And then it was nice because they used me for a lot of different things, and you sometimes also forget uh, what you're really doing sometimes, because it's such a family, and Marvel is really known for bringing people back that they love, they could trust.
Hmm.
And honestly, just I would forget that I was talking to Robert Downey Jr. I just would have a conversation, and we would just talk about the holidays coming up and what he was doing. And his wife, he would just say, be like, "Oh, my wife is basically, having her house like an Airbnb, and he looks like it's never ending, but just little things like that you forget, and you forget sometimes that you're working on one of the biggest
Oh,
movies
yeah.
in the world. But everybody was phenomenal, and just memories that will last to a lifetime. It was
Oh, of
incredible,
course.
and
You're
so
on set for Marvel. You're talking to
yeah.
Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. You're never gonna forget that.
Yeah, it's crazy, and so a lot of people don't know that. I mean, to this day, because we shot that in 2016, I still here and there kind of just keep it to myself. Be like, yeah, yeah, back in the day, I was a form of Spider-Man, if you will.
Well,
And
yeah.
to this day, a lot of people are like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, yeah. So, so it usually catches a lot of people off guard sometimes. I'm like, yeah, yeah. So but man, it was awesome. It was awesome.
I
But
love it. I love it.
yeah, yeah. But it was pretty amazing too, because again, on Sweet Magnolias, uh, there was a lot of crew that kind of was with me through kind of my journey, kind of building up
Oh,
there.
really?
I did, yeah. It's again with the industry, it's just so small. I had with one of the main camera operators. I was on shorts with him, and then all of a sudden, bam, he was on Sweet Magnolias, and then there he was, the one of the main prop masters for Sweet Magnolias. I worked with him on Avengers, and
Okay.
um, and I remember where he actually somebody did tell me that he went over to the stand-ins, because I went over and talked to them, got to know them, because I was like, I'm part of you guys. I know what I know what it's like to stand in and everything else. And so I really kind of flocked over there when I was on set with Sweet
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Magnolias. And then I heard that he went over. He just said, "Do you know who he was? He stood in for Spider-Man, and now he's on the call sheet." And he flipped. He was such a great. He was awesome, man. He was so cool. But everybody just was like, "Wait, what? He was a stand-in like us, and now he's here." And so it was great, because I'm like, "Hey, just stay the course. Stay the course, and just don't quit."
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
so it was nice too, because I was, it's you always like to have that hope, and saying, okay, for your background, and saying, hey, listen, I was there, I did it, just enjoy it, love the journey, and keep on going, and don't quit. So it was a great little moment, in that arena too. And so they all came up and talked to me about it, and I just said, just told them stories
Nice.
and everything else. So yeah,
Nice.
so it was one of those things where it's just so many wonderful moments on Sweet Magnolias.
Wow. And
Yeah.
and and you're on the set for this. You're part of season 4 of
Yes.
the show, and you play Michael on the show, and Michael gets inter introduced as someone from Isaac's past from college. And
Yeah.
in all 3 seasons, like for the fans of the show, Isaac definitely struggles on the person he is and where he fits in everywhere. And Michael comes walking back into his life. And what are your thoughts on like the past, like the college past of Isaac and Michael?
Well, I think there was an article that came out, and I thought it was like right on. It was they labeled it as a frenemy, and I was
Well,
like,
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
pretty. Yeah, I was like, that's really kind of what it is. And I think I think there was, just with Michael and who he is. I think he tries to, you know, slowly, I guess, come out of his shell, so to speak. He's like and even he, in one episode, he's like, I blossomed. And I think it's, with that, I think their relationship there was always something,
Hmm.
but I think there was a lot of competition, and I think that probably came a lot more so for Michael. because he is like this very, I want everything perfect, a little bit of perfectionist, very very tightly wound in a lot of areas. And I think that if he had just been kind of just as far as who he is, just a little bit open, there could have been a great friendship and things. But
Sure.
that's how it's amazing, kind of like how life works like that, really honestly, where people from our past kind of come up, and we either see them in a different light, or they've changed in some great ways. And so I think it was wonderful to kind of think of where they came from, and if
Hmm.
they were just what class was like, if they were just near each other. And he just was like, I worked so hard. And I think he was, Michael, for himself, he's like, he's really just comparing him all the way through, where he's like, I cram for these exams, and then still Isaac is like just beating me every single time on everything, just acing these. And I'm like, what's going on with this guy? And I think it's
Yeah.
just, for me, there was always like just something there. And then it really kind of just, he comes back out of nowhere, and I think
Hmm.
he really says, hey, listen, there were some things with you in the past, and I kind of worked on myself a little bit. And now they kind of see each other in different light, so to speak. So yeah, but it's amazing how
Yeah,
things
definitely.
work,
I
definitely.
know. I mean, you can tell like as soon as Michael sees him, and
Oh yeah.
you could tell Michael likes him. Like as soon as he sees him once again after college. And how did you play Mike? Did you play Michael like to look like that he actually likes Isaac for more than just like a frenemy?
Yeah, I think there was definitely something there. I think
Hmm.
no matter what that looked like. I think there was during the story in four. I think it really kind of uh, grew definitely to something more. I think there was always there could have been either a great friendship, or they could have been on good terms at least, not be so much frenemies, more of just friends. But I think they during season four, they kind of were able to just be like, hey, I'm just gonna be open to whatever happens. And I think with that, they kind of have those that chemistry as well, where obviously there's something more to this. So it's definitely amazing to see him kind of on that small little journey through season four, which is great. And
Definitely.
but I think that's just with life, I think you have to just, be available, open yourself up. You never know, just how things could evolve. And it's just one of those things with relationships too, where you're like, I'm just
Sure.
gonna kind of enjoy wherever this goes. I think you just have to. And even with Michael, it's wonderful too, because I think for a while he was probably really closed off,
Sure.
to a lot of
Sure.
things, and missed out on experiences and missed out on opportunities here and there just because of that. And I think with season four, you really start saying, hey, I really want to open myself up. And I think there were some things with Isaac that gave him inspiration too, just with just who Isaac is, and the beauty with his personality. And I think even with Michael going back and watching some of these movies that Isaac really loved, he took that into
Yeah.
account, and he's like, I really want to make myself available now, just to be able to be free and know more and learn more. And I think it was at the right timing, where Michael finally is on the cusp of like, I just want to open my and be available. And then all of a sudden it's Isaac right in front, so which is
Definitely.
which is pretty amazing. And I think even the timing too, and Cheryl, who is the showrunner and creator, um,
Hmm.
you know, said, I think that the timing was perfect for Isaac because he really kind of figured out who he was during in Serenity and with the family, and he was able to really truly be himself. And I think just stars aligned, basically just as far as timing for both of them, and it just just happened. So it's amazing how
Yeah.
things like that work. Yeah.
And what was it like working and shooting like the fun and more personal scenes with Chris?
Hey, Chris is phenomenal. We still talk to this day, which is amazing because Logan and I still talk. We literally talked, and I just actually gave Chris a text, and he was just like, "I'm so sorry." He's like, because he's up in New York, so New York, he's
Oh,
just
all right.
it is go go go, and so he's like, "I'm so sorry." He's like, "Yeah, let's talk this weekend." But it was honestly it was just very very easy. Things like that. I think even with just being on set, intimate scenes. I mean, everybody gets nervous, but Chris, everything just really happened just so organically. It was
Mhm.
it was such a family. But Chris, in a way, was just so kind and so open. He and I just became very close automatically on set. Um, and then he took me to one of his favorite sushi spots here in Atlanta.
Really?
Oh my gosh,
Nice.
he opened my eyes because I love sushi, but sometimes like I don't get out very much. I'm just like just working and so he was like, I want to take you to my spot. He goes there every single week, once a week when he's down here filming.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, oh yeah, he loves it. It's called Fudo. It's over here in Brookhaven. And but what's really cool is that all the titles for the sushi are movie names or TV
Really?
names. Yeah. So they have one called like Euphoria, one called Avengers Endgame, which of course I had. They had, Hunger Games, things like this. So it's really and it's packed, always packed. And so he and I, we just kind of broke bread together. We had a meal. We just talked and just
Hmm.
his life in New York and being on Broadway and singer and dancer, and he's just phenomenal. So that was the big thing is he just was so welcoming, and sometimes you don't really get that. You don't really know what you're going to walk into on set, and some people could be just absolutely just be a family, and some you never know, it could be a little bit more kind of closed off, and so
Hmm.
he made it that much, as far as being special in a way. He was great, just wonderful, wonderful guy, and so the scenes really honestly just became just so natural, which was wonderful. The dance, we had such a blast because he and I would he was definitely the choreographer for that because he's got such a great background, and he was like, let's try this,
Yeah.
and I was like, and I was very much like Michael, where I'm like, oh, okay, let's try this, and the spin, and for me, I love dancing, but it's hard to kind of keep up with him just because he's so good at it. And but that we had just such a blast during that final episode for the Christmas market. And
Hmm.
so honestly, I mean, we would have been great, but just because he was so just wonderful just as a human being, and who he
Exactly.
is, it just made it that much better. So all of that just came so easy, and I was so thankful
Oh,
for
yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah,
And I love how they took their time too, like the slow burn from like the date to the kiss. And how did you develop that great chemistry with Chris to make, the date and the kiss look so like real?
thank you. um, well, that was it was kind of crazy because they really honestly, just the whole process of me auditioning to the callback to getting the part was so effortless in a way where it just almost really took me back because usually in this industry it's sometimes you just never know, you never hear back. And here it just was almost kind of like a beautiful snowball effect where it just was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of happening. And it just was it was incredible. And Joanna, when I actually was booked for the role, Joanna, who's been on, she's Maddie number one. She's such a sweetheart, and she's phenomenal in so many ways. She actually was directing one of the episodes, and that was the episode where Isaac and I first meet again. And
Yeah.
and so she actually wanted me to come down, and I absolutely kind of blocked the day, took the day off of work, and I just said, absolutely, I'll come down. I came down, and I met Chris for the first time. She actually took us in to the spa on set, and she's like, I really just want to talk about just this relationship and how it's going to unfold. And it just was fantastic. And that's where I really kind of met Chris, and he and I talked, and went over the scene with her. And she said, just to let you know, this has been a long time coming for all the fans, and for the entire 4 seasons, we've been really working on something special for Isaac for a long time. So no pressure. And I was like, yeah, no pressure at all. Thank you very much. I was like, this is kind of the cusp to his story and everything. And so I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay, there's a lot going on this. And we wanted to really hope that the fans and everybody would love it. But it was really, honestly, just the way that they had envisioned this character and envisioned their relationship and how it builds over time. That
Mhm.
was something that really was special, because they took the time out of their
Well,
day,
yeah, exactly.
just to kind of go over all of that and talk with me. And it was something wonderful. And and I think just over time, just with Chris and I getting to know each other too, just with he and myself, I think a lot of that just really kind of happened. It just was all, again, very very organic. And we were glad that there was the chemistry was there already. And then of
Mhm.
course, when he and I had lunch together, and we would kind of hang out off set, and then even when we were on set, he would show me around and introduce me to everybody. So it was already just
Oh,
it
that's
it,
awesome.
it so it's amazing how it, one, as it was happening in the story, it was happening in real life, because I was getting to know him more and more and more. And it was just very much like, almost like when the cameras were rolling, it was very much like that too. Like so he
Uh,
and I, our relationship was it was getting better, offset. And then it was, basically on screen, while we were on set. So it was amazing kind of how that was very parallel to each other, and which I really am glad that it made such a great difference. So yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah, yeah. So he's great.
And I never been on set with Logan, so how's Logan like on set?
Oh, yeah, amazing as always, man. He never, trust me, he never skips a beat, man. He's so full of life, and he's just so full of energy, and he's just so positive in everything that he is.
Yeah.
And he and I we had a lot of great conversations, and he's just such a great guy. And I think I still owe him this, because he was really getting into the Planet of the Apes franchise, and he was watching all of them. And he was like, Kyle, he's like, next time, man. He's like, because the new one was coming out while we were filming, and he just was like, you better go see this, and then we meet again, we're gonna talk about it. And I'm like, I
Oh
gotta
my
watch that
God.
film now, yeah. So who if I when I see him again, I mean, I gotta say, okay, let's talk about the film, let's talk about this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because he's just such a fan of just everything. And he's just very much just always there. And I'm like, give me some of your energy, man, because he's always. And then
He
he'll
is.
and then I love it, because we'll kind of we'll talk, and we'll do like the voice chats and stuff on Instagram. And he always just goes on like these riffs where he's talking, and then something happens, and he's just like, oh my gosh, that guy just ran a red light. So anyway, Kyle, and he'll just so but it's amazing because that's him. He just doesn't. He just whatever happens, he's like, he just goes with it. For me, I would have like stopped the whole entire voice chat and done it again because for me, I'm like, okay, I can't. But he just goes and he just is himself, and he's awesome all the time.
He
And
is. He is
so
awesome.
he's been such a great friend, and just and of course, he lives in Florida, so we are
Yeah.
right around the same circles. So he knows everything that I know down there, which is awesome. And it's pretty cool because I could say, oh yeah, you know, um, I could talk about like a small place in around Orlando, and he just yeah, I just was there the other day, and I'm like, I love it, man, I love it because usually a lot of people will be like, where? I'm like, well, but it's awesome that we're kind of like it's my stomping ground back in Florida, and he's still there, so it's kind of like a full circle thing where it's just like,
Oh yeah,
hey man,
definitely.
you gotta love it, yeah. So, but he's great, and I hope to see him very soon. Hope to see him very soon.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I always ask my guests this when they're on the show. I'm a big horror fan, and are there any horror films that you like to watch?
Oh man, so horror, it's definitely not my go-to. Like for me, I mean, I have actually watched the Conjuring series. I will never watch the series ever again. It's one of those where I'm like, I live by myself, and I'm
Oh yeah.
afraid to like, you know, Uh, but I love the classics. So of course you have Nightmare on Elm Street. You have Friday the 13th. A lot of those. Alien was a great one because I really got into
Mhm.
like that suspense and that sci-fi horror, which was really amazing. So I would say, oh man, as far as like a true horror film, I would say. I would say probably I would have to like think of just one of the classic '80s,
Yeah,
and then of
definitely.
course my
Definitely.
my older sister was a big fan of the Scream franchise, so
Those are
Scream
good too, yeah.
Scream was like a really big one, and they actually just shot Scream 7 here,
I know. I know.
which was cool. I would have loved to have gone out for it, but yeah, but it didn't happen. But so that was definitely for me, like growing up and watching a lot of these classic ones. So I would definitely have to pick one of those for sure.
All right.
So what is yours? Now I'm
Mine
really
mine's actually like this rare horror film. Like a lot of like you have to be like a real diehard horror fan to know it. It's called Night of the Demons, and
What's it called
it's
again?
it's an 80s Night of the Demons,
Night of the Demons.
and it's like
I
a
I
it's like an 80s horror, and
okay.
it's very cheesy. But for some reason, like I could watch that one like over and over. Like I love that movie.
I'm gonna have to check this out because if it's 80s and it's like one of those like classic cheesy 80s, that's
It
right
is,
up my
yeah.
genre, man. Yes, absolutely. There's only so much I could take as far as like the horror genre goes, but this sounds actually pretty fun.
It is.
So
It is. I like it.
okay, Night of the Demons. Okay, it's on the watch list. So next time
Okay.
we get back on this
Okay.
interview, I'm gonna be like, hey man, I watched it. Pretty good. Pretty good.
And what would be your go-to karaoke song if you were gonna do one?
Oh, so that's okay. So go to karaoke. Great question, man. Um, I don't do karaoke very often for a very good reason. That's just the confidence of singing for me. Um, I've done it here and there. I've had a little bit of liquid courage before I go on that set on
Well, yeah, of
stage.
course. Of course.
So I would say something within where I can actually in my range where I could sing it. As much as I would love to go and belt Journey, separate ways. I have to, just say, okay, I can't do that. But I would say probably, definitely like an '80s song. for sure. Something probably like by Duran Duran I love Tears for Fears.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
very big 80s guy, 90s guy.
same.
Um, but even like I love like the alternative 90s too. Like, so you have Semisonic and Oasis and so I don't know, probably be Wonderwall or something like that. A lot of that, it has so much sentimental value because my sisters and I grew up to that. So
Oh yeah.
probably one of those I would pick out. So I would definitely open the vaults and um, like maybe Matchbox 20 or something like that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, something where I could sing it decently, I guess. So
I love the choices. They're amazing songs. Like I love the choices.
thank you very much.
And I guess the last thing I'll ask you basically is if there's anything coming up for you that you would like to plug and where can fans follow you at?
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, that's always the thing in this industry. We never know. I'm hoping for some things soon. Nothing right now in the works. Nothing in the pipeline, but that could change. Tomorrow. That's the beautiful thing about the industry as well. Is to say you just never know.
Yeah.
But I'll keep everybody informed if anything happens. You'll be the first to know. But I would say probably the biggest thing is just my Instagram channel. So Real KFin 33. So please, yeah, follow me, and we'll keep everybody updated on everything about me and going forward and the life. So hopefully, I will keep you entertained as much as I can.
Well, thank you so much for taking time and coming on, bud. It was really nice
Dude,
meeting you. Thank you, man.
such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Thank you very much just for taking the time for having me. Was such a great experience, man. And it
Oh,
just
thank you
was
so
wonderful
much.
talking to you, getting to know you, and going back memory lane as well with Marvel and why I got into this. So I really appreciate it. It's just something really special, man. So thank you for reaching out and wanting me to be a part of this.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully everybody loves this episode. So,
Yes.
but
And I'm gonna tag Logan too.
hopefully, yes, man. Hopefully so. And I guarantee he's going to come back and he's like, so what happened with Planet of the Apes? Like, did you watch the movie? I'm like, oh my God. I will. But oh man, but yeah, but it's well, thank you so much. I hope this is one of many. Can't wait to do this again. Hopefully with you
Yeah,
soon.
definitely. Definitely. Like anytime you want to come back on, I'm 100% in. This has been fun. Like you're a really nice person.
Thank you.
So thank you again for this.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Well, I have an awesome, fantastic day, and have a great rest of your week. And I need to come up to Philly, man. So hopefully
Yeah.
we could link up, or you come down to the ATL, man. I'll show you around. It's a
Okay, sweet.
good place here. Absolutely.
All right. Okay. All right. Sounds like a plan to me. Thanks.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, dude, such a pleasure. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon.
Definitely. Bye.
All right, man. Bye, guys. Thank you.